Hello and welcome to MDI's presentation on how equity rebates bring significant OPEX reduction for data center tenants. My name is John Heiderscheidt. I'm one of the presenters today. I have two professional roles. My first is with MDI Access. I'm an attorney. I handle a mixture of compliance and zoning issues for data centers we site and source throughout the United States. In addition to my work with MDI, I'm also a licensed data center and telecom broker with Corporate Site Selectors, Inc. With me today is MDI's Chief Architect, Chris Krestel. He's going to be talking to some of the technical aspects of the real estate and the data center product offering we have. I'll let him introduce himself just a bit here.
Thanks, John. Again, Christopher Krestel. I'm a licensed architect in 5 states. I work with MDI for the past 10 years or so, doing all the design projects across the U.S.
So part of the reason MDI decided to put together this presentation on equity rebates and how they can reduce your OPEX as a data center tenant is because over the last 2 years we've had a good deal of our clients. MDI, I'll talk to our history a little bit later, but we've been in the data center business for 25 years now. And particularly over the last 2 years, we've had a good deal of our clients come to us and ask us for strategies on how they can reduce their OPEX. And we've come up with a couple of solutions for them. Obviously, the easiest is to just implement more efficient equipment. As time goes on, the equipment gets better. There's some efficiencies that newer equipment can achieve that older equipment can't. We also talk about reducing operational standards. This is where a data center will choose to move its set point from 72 degrees Fahrenheit to, say, 85 degrees Fahrenheit in the data center itself. We've also seen a lot of folks now downsizing their data center footprints. Over the last decade, a lot of folks overbuilt their data center space when they were going through, when they were looking at enterprise solutions. And now they're realizing with some efficiencies they don't quite need the space they had, so they're doing sale leasebacks. And then the biggest one that we've seen so far in the last 2, 3, 4 years is the movement to the cloud. I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, you've heard about the cloud in some way, shape, or form. So some of these modes of OPEX reduction can be great, but they also come with trade-offs. When you're installing more efficient equipment, you have to outlay capital expenditures. So you have to go out and buy that equipment, and you have to do a return on investment analysis, things of that nature. When you reduce your operational standards, one of the largest consequences of that is you'll see a more rapid degradation of your servers and other equipment in the data center. When you're looking to downsize your data center footprint, if you're in a lease, likely your lease is not going to provide a provision for that. Your landlord is not usually going to willingly agree to a smaller bite of the apple. And then the cloud, what we're seeing with the cloud is although it can be a nice solution for folks with lower power density requirements, there are still significant security and downtime issues that you have to work out and at least prepare for if you're going to be making that venture. But in all of the cases of these OPEX reductions, we've seen that you're trading something off in order to lower your operational expenses. So our team of professionals here at MDI, we put our heads together and we thought to ourselves, what's a way that we could help companies lower OPEX by about 25 bucks a kW without any kind of harmful trade-off to program or scalability or security, anything like that. And what we've come up with was the idea that you're looking at on your screen. Become an equity participant in a custom-built data center solution and leverage the full value of that lease by becoming an equity participant in the custom-built development. The idea has won us a lot of favor with a publication called CIO Review, very highly thought of publication in the data center industry and tech industry. We were actually in April of 2017 named to CIO Review's 20 most promising data center solution providers for this idea, and you can see that we had a page-long article in here about becoming an equity participant in a custom-built development. We've also been featured in Data Center Knowledge's Industry Perspectives, same concept again. And for the real estate brokers listening to this presentation, the idea of a participation lease isn't new, but it's not one that's widely used in the data center industry, and we think that there's an opportunity to employ it to help folks achieve the program that they need and still significantly reduce their OPEX. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Chris, and he's going to walk the people listening through the technical specs of what our data center offers and how you can leverage this lease to your advantage.
Great, thanks, John. So you can see in front of you the tenant amenities that we have envisioned for this particular project or this particular thought. So what we're envisioning is a 4 megawatt building, and then the private areas that are dedicated to the individual tenant are highlighted in blue. This is a 1 megawatt data center pod capable of housing 200 of the larger cabinet footprints, the 30 by 48 by 48U cabinets. You can see that it has dedicated electrical rooms, both A and B, has dedicated A and B PDU distribution spaces, and the small gray areas dedicated for fire protection systems for that space. You can see the crack hallways. Although you get 10 dedicated cracks for this development, the space itself is monitored and maintained by the building itself. So you might see maintenance personnel in there, but the nice thing is they don't have to go through your suite to get to any of the equipment. Each of the pods would have generator capacity to your specifications. What's modeled here is a full 2N on the UPS, on the gen, on the room itself, the PDUs, the transformers, and we've envisioned this particular facility with DX cooling. However, based on where this is in the U.S., that might be modified to chilled water, whichever is more efficient for the space itself. You can see in this plan here what we've highlighted is the common area that comes with the building itself, that comes with your lease. So the building itself has 2 net pops working in Protect, 2 fiber entry points, and you can see the in the lower right-hand corner there's some office area, some private offices, some open office. This can be directly leased with your data center pod, or some of it's just going to be open for first come, first served basis. The main entry into the facility is watched by a security guard, as well as the loading dock and storage facilities, all centrally located around the security guard. The building itself, and I'll jump into a model of the building. We model everything in Rebates, so the preliminary design here, as I said, called for a 4 megawatt pod, and you can see the server cabinets there with your DX cooling on the roof, which is hidden in this particular view. The loading dock trucks, truck access, and security guard monitoring both the entry to the facility and the loading dock. The building itself is 57,000 square feet of gross square feet. The precast walls are 20 foot high and 16 inches wide insulated precast wall panels. No problem achieving an 18-foot clear height. Because this is purpose-built, we're envisioning a 36-inch depressed slab, and the building itself is rated for 185 mile-an-hour wind. We've put some specs on the roof, and just good to note that no piping, no roof drains or anything above the technical areas. And what you see on the page right now is just the finished product. This is the full 4 megawatt facility colored in for your viewing pleasure.
Thanks for walking through those, Chris. As you're looking at the offering that we have here, one of the things I'd like to highlight, and I'll talk about this a little bit more in a second, is that your pod is completely customizable. If you want to use certain equipment, if you want to use certain systems, The purpose of the development we have here is so that we're not talking about the concept in complete abstract. We want folks to be able to see and touch what we're talking about and get an idea of what they may have in their pod. But the important thing to take away from this is a completely customizable design to the anchor tenant's tastes. I'll talk about the reason we're offering that a little bit later, but want to outline for folks who are listening and may have an interest in this concept, the process that MDI utilizes as it employs these developments or deploys these developments. So the first step is that the tenant and or the tenant's broker is going to reach out and sign a letter of intent with MDI. This is a non-binding document, but it highlights the tenant amenities and the building specs and scope that will go into the tenant's pod. MDI utilizes this letter of intent to begin negotiations to secure a buyer for the project. We work with a number of buyers up to and including mission critical REITs, co-location providers, and investment firms, all of which are interested in acquiring data centers with income on them on day one. What's nice about this model from the tenant's perspective, if you think back to the days of when banks compete, you win, that's kind of the same concept here. We take your letter of intent, show them what the likely income stream and the building specs are going to be, and negotiate a purchase price for the entire project so that you know you have a buyer for the project on day one. After we've gone through the initial letter of intent phase and the site selection phase and securing the buyer, MDI forms a single purpose LLC for the project. At that point, the tenant and the broker will sign a firm SLA with the LLC. The buyer at the same time will execute a purchase agreement with the LLC. These documents will govern the scope of construction, the timing, the deliverables, when your occupancy is, whatnot, all of those good things. At this point, the SLA is firm. Once you've signed here, there's no more option. The tenant is in for its anchor space as outlined in the service level agreement. The LLC will then go acquire the final site. As we're negotiating with the buyer in step 2, we're also working with the tenant and the broker to select the final site. It may be that the tenant has a long window, maybe 2.5 to 3 years before it has to source its new space, in which case we would likely advocate buying raw land in the region that the tenant would like and purpose building a solution. However, if you have a shorter time frame, if you got maybe 15 or 16 months to get into your new space, we'd maybe recommend retrofitting an existing building. All that will be talked to in the letter of intent phase, and we'll begin site selection so that by the time the LLC is formed, we walk in and acquire the site. The next step, you could probably guess here, is construction or renovation occur. This can be anywhere between 9 and 16 months depending on the property that's been acquired and what the tenant specs are going to be. The last stage of the process simply is occupancy for the tenant. At the time of occupancy, you receive your rebate. We also transfer the deed to the property in your SLA. We assign your SLA to the buyer, at which case the LLC dissolves and the project is over. MDI is the managing member of the LLC. We do also stick around for issues of maintenance and further deployment. Let's say you took 1 megawatt in a 4 megawatt pod, and then 3 or 4 years later you were ready to expand to pod 2 or 3. MDI would be the group that you would work with, so you'd have continuity in the construction of the environment as well. Some of the deal highlights I want to mention here is that in this particular concept on the 1 megawatt out of a 4 megawatt pod, your day one cost is $125 a kW. This is a triple net lease, so it doesn't include CAM, cost of associated maintenance. The CAM number will be figured on a number of things, including the property taxes, cost of electricity, maintenance of equipment, etc. That's really determined on a site-by-site basis. So what you need to take away from this is $125 a kW exclusive of CAM. Prior to the completion of the project, the tenant receives, in this scenario, a $3 million rebate. It's a very healthy rebate, and over the life of the lease, it achieves a $25 a kW reduction in your operating expenses. But that's hard money that's given to the tenant at the close of the project. So you don't have to consider it in terms of rent abatement. abatement, the tenant can use it for cost-free migration or other advantages that it would like to avail itself of. The rebate lowers your effective lease rate, obviously, to 100 a kW. For a credit tenant, that could be a more significant savings, although I would caution that the buyers that we work with highlight what is and isn't a credit tenant based on widely varying criteria. But the good thing is that with this program offered by MDI, you can leverage a network of potential purchasers. Again, when people in acquisition mode compete, you win. We're offering above market commission rates paid through a channel partner program on this. You don't need to be a broker in order to avail yourself of a commission rate, but you absolutely can be. Commissions can go as high as 6%, though they are dependent on the specific deal. The development opportunity is great for anybody with a power requirement of a megawatt to maybe 2 to 3 megawatts, and really can be employed with folks who have 8 megawatts or 10 megawatts of a requirement. My personal opinion is that folks who are in the insurance, banking, healthcare, or trading industries can really leverage this as an opportunity that works well for them. But again, if you're skittish about going to the cloud and just retrofitting some of the equipment in your data center isn't for you, this is a very nice option and program. And what it really helps compete with in terms of the cloud is we can schedule the deal so that everything down to the servers is paid for in your KW rate, which means you can transfer your data center to a total OpEx opportunity for your CFO level folks. Again, this program is 1 megawatt and a 4 megawatt data center that we're talking about. Those metrics can change, and we encourage you, if you have over a megawatt requirement, to give us a call at MDI and see how we could work this program for you. It's region neutral. It can be deployed in Seattle, San Diego, Orlando, wherever it needs to be. Whatever market your company needs to be in, we'll be there for you. And the program is completely customizable to suit your needs. So we talked about, let's say that the model contemplates DX cooling. If you need a chilled water system, that's something we can talk about. The benefit of this program is that rather than cutting from your program, you're able to customize your program to specifically what you want and what's best for your network and your solutions. The development opportunity is currently only offered by the MDI companies, and I would like to give you a little background on MDI, who we are and what we do. Very simply, MDI, both MDI Access and MDI Electric, is an award-winning team of data center professionals, and we offer a wide range of solutions across the data center spectrum. We offer site selection analysis for folks, TCO analysis. We'll do general consulting for data center groups. We develop, design, and build. We help with deployments. Folks who are deploying inside of a colo will help do the cage build-outs. And we offer data center performance audits as well. What really sets us apart as a company is our partnership philosophy. We don't view a job as a project. We view it as an opportunity to partner with a group and be their trusted advisor, not only for the current project, but for the projects that will come along in the future of your business. You can see here a small representative sample of some of the clients that we worked with. I won't talk to all of them, but some of the MDI success stories include CoreSite is probably a brand anybody touching data centers is familiar with. Before they were CoreSite, they were CRG West. We built out a great deal of space east of the Mississippi River for them, other than in their New York region. And we also sourced them into 427 South LaSalle, which is their flagship building in Chicago, before they were CoreSite. Digital Capital Partners and ColoHub are two separate but equally great data center developments that MDI has undertaken in the past 4 or 5 years. ColoHub's located in Bettendorf, Iowa. It was a retrofit of an old grocery store into a larger data center, and Digital Capital Partners owns a building 725 South Wells in Chicago, which is also an MDI development. We've built out the active and passive meet me rooms for DRT in their 350 Cermak facility in Chicago. We've worked with Fortune 500 companies, healthcare industries, wireless phone providers and multi-tenant providers as well. If you're interested in learning more, please contact MDI about its equity rebate program at 708-597-0111. You can reach us on our Twitter account or at our LinkedIn profile. You're always welcome to jump onto the MDI Access page as well to learn more about our companies. We'd be happy to discuss this or any other services that we have that can help you and your data center move into a more efficient, productive location in the future. Thanks very much for listening and have a great day.